Last week ended with the world taking in Donald Trump's conviction. This week ends with Trump back out on the campaign trail, making, as I mentioned, his first appearance as a convicted felon. So he has to balance that in preparation for the debate with preparation for sentencing. The judge who oversaw this trial will sentence Donald Trump once he hears from both sides. That may or may not include jail time. And part of this process means that convicted felon Trump must meet with a New York probation officer who will write a report that the judge factors in for any sentencing. So how does that really work? We've heard from so many big-time lawyers and plenty of people in politics and media, but next we go to someone who knows all about this specifically, a veteran New York City probation commissioner who has the details on that very crucial meeting for this convicted felon, who is facing consequences for the conviction, and those may also affect how people think of Donald Trump. I mentioned this. The New York City Police, NYPD, is revoking his gun license and making sure he doesn't have guns on him. So whether or not he wins the election, gets back nukes, he's currently not trusted with a single gun. In Vermont, state party rules ban a convicted felon being promoted, but they're going to have to work that out or follow their own rules. Also, most convicted felons face travel restrictions. So if this holds, Donald Trump is effectively banned from over 30 countries. Now, as a diplomatic matter, they could ultimately waive that if he were reelected. But this is his life right now. And remember, he is just a private citizen right now. He is not above the law, as his conviction shows. And it's not clear that he could go places if he had reasons, campaign or otherwise, to want to be in other countries before the election. We're now joined by the former commissioner of the New York City Department of Probation and the city's Department of Correction, Martin Horn. Welcome.
Good to be here.
How would this interview work for a convicted felon like Trump before sentencing?
Of course, there is no convicted felon like Trump. He's one of a kind. So all I can speak to is how it goes for the average Joe. And what happens is that they are asked to come into the probation office, which in this case is at 100 Center Street in Manhattan, and sit in a small city office, meet with a civil service probation officer, and discuss everything from the crime that they are convicted of, any criminal history they may have, their family situation, their obligations, where they're living, how they're supporting themselves, their income, any mental or physical issues that might compromise their ability to support themselves or to live independently, and to assess their willingness to abide by the conditions that the judge might set for a probation or a conditional discharge sentence.
So, to put it really simply, can that report impact the sentence, and can it potentially, along with other factors, lead to a more serious sentence?
It can. Certainly it can. Of course, you know, in New York City, 95% of the convictions are the result of plea negotiations. So the sentence in most cases has been agreed upon, but that's not the case here. And so the purpose of the probation report is to identify for the judge aggravating or mitigating circumstances that might affect the sentencing decision.
So if you have someone who has been found in contempt for violating the gag order, for attacking the judge's family and other things, and then sits down, as they must, with the probation officer, and that person continues to seem defiant, how might that affect a judge?
I'm not a judge, and I can't say. But certainly it would be noted.
Let me compliment you, and then you continue. You've overseen two of the very key entities in the very same jurisdiction where this convict is going forward.
Yes. And certainly we use a term, we call it, is this individual amenable to supervision? That means is he or she receptive to accepting the restrictions that are placed upon them in the event they are placed on probation? Will they comply with the rules, or are they people who are likely to violate the rules? Certainly that is something that would appropriately be noted in the pre-sentence investigation and reported to the judge, and then it's for the judge to weigh. And certainly in this case, this judge knows this defendant very well.
Right. Last question. Based on what we know now, do you think that Donald Trump's approach has made it more likely that he could get jail, less likely, or really no difference?
That calls for speculation that I'm just not going to engage in. As I say, one of the things that we're trying to determine in a pre-sentence investigation is whether or not this individual is amenable to supervision. And I leave it at that.
Well, I think people could hear that and process whether or not he has, in substance and in fact, shown an amenability, as you say, to that supervision, which is one of the things that if you're good about, you're less likely to get jail in a first offender case or not. Whether that is applied uniformly or not, as you say, will be up to the judge. But I read you. Martin Horn, thanks for spending time with us.
You're quite welcome.